Praise the Lord, everyone. This is David Jones, Works in the Ministries. I want to come online and talk to you for a moment concerning some of the things that's been taking place in our country as we are experiencing civil unrest and the challenges that are being presented before us and how the future is going to be for here in America. And I want to share with you from the Bible, of course, some of my thoughts and what the scripture says concerning this present situation that we're dealing with called Black Lives Matter, white supremacy, and also racism. So these are some of the topics that I'm going to be discussing tonight. So I've entitled this video, Why Does It Matter? Why does it matter? Now, of course, I'm going to go through the scriptures because I believe the scriptures are the final authority on what God has to say, because he has the last say. So, in the scriptures concerning his creation and concerning the end of times and the end of the world and things that are to come, because the scriptures are prophetic in nature. Now, in order to truly understand and have a basic understanding of the Bible, it is important to at least have a historical, a geographical, and an ethnographics context in which the Bible was conceived. Therefore, we must turn our attention to Israel. Now, why Israel? Because Israel, the Holy Land, is going to be the center and the focus of God's plan for America and for the entire globe. God's eye has always been on Israel and the Holy Land, and God's eye will still continue to be on the Holy Land, Israel. Israel was the nation that would give birth to the Messiah, who was Christ. He would come out from the lineage of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and he would be born out of the tribe of Judah, or Yehuda. A king would arise. Israel was the focus of the ancient world and is the focus of the world today. God also made promises to Israel in the form of covenants which are still in effect today. So God promised our fathers, namely Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that there would be land given to us. And if you read the scriptures, you will clearly see that these promises are still in effect, and in ancient Israel times, the Israelites possessed lands, and they had lands. Now, I want to go into some of the lies that have been told to us from the pulpits and from society as exists, because there are lies and there are things that are not being told to us. And I want to speak directly to the church and church leaders, pastors, preachers, teachers, who are continually upholding this lie. Some aware, some unaware. I understand that. But I'm speaking directly to them because this has to be addressed. This has to be corrected. And I believe the situation that we are in today, meaning the pandemic, is a result of the hypocrisy and the lies and the foolishness that is being done amongst our religious leaders and in the local church and in our communities. Let's go to the Jews as we know today. As you well know, that there are so-called Jews living in Israel, which I'm about to go into this teaching to expose these particular group of people who say they are Jews and are not, which is the greatest lie and the greatest deception that the world has seen, and still under that umbrella or that delusion into thinking that they are the true Jews. So let's get an origin of how this actually all started. There are several subgroups of Jews with different cultures and traditions residing in various nations. In Israel, however, Jewish communities are characterized into four major groups: Ethiopian, Mitra, Sephardic, and Ashkenazi. Ethiopian Jews are known as Beit Israel, which means house of Israel, which means would be the family or the direct lineage of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. There is controversy regarding whether Ethiopian Jews are truly descendants of the house of Israel. Many European Jews argue that Ethiopian Jews are not true Jews but converts. There is also debate in academic circles. Some scholars argue that Ethiopian Jews have existed for at least 15 centuries, while other scholars argue that Ethiopian Jews have existed since the beginning of time. Nevertheless, they are living as Jews in Israel with their own unique religious practices. Not all, but some Mitzvah Jews living in Israel are the ingenious Jewish population, indigenous Jewish population of North Africa, which is now known as the Middle East. Many religious leaders in modern Israel claim Sephardic identity and a connection to the founders of the Babylonian Talmud, which is the main book and topic of study in Jewish world today. They don't study the Holy Bible, the scriptures, as Christians do. Sephardic Jews were exiled from Spain in 1492 and Portugal in 1496 and settled in various parts of North Africa and Palestine, also known today as Israel. There are cultural differences within Sephardic communities, but all Sephardic Jews claim that their Jewish heritage stems from the Middle East ancestors who were the original inhabitants of Egypt, Baghdad, North Africa, and Palestine. Ashkenazi Jews have taken full control of Palestine. They make up almost half of Israel's population, and they continue to make up a large portion of the people immigrating to the Holy Land. Most European Jews residing in America are all so-called Ashkenazi. Ashkenazi Jews are at the forefront of the Zionist movement. The Zionist movement, which actually led to the establishment of modern-day Israel. The Zionist movement is the direct cause of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict today. The Jewish Virtual Library explains Zionism to the world in this way. Zionism is the national liberation movement of the Jewish people, which holds that Jews, like any other nation, are entitled to a homeland. Its general definition means the national movement of the Jewish people to their homeland and the resumption of Jewish sovereignty in the land of Israel. And this is the Zionist movement that is perpetuated throughout America, in which today there are many ministries unknowingly fund and send money to these so-called Jews in Israel today. You see it on the commercials. You see it on mainstream media. You see it on the television. Send money to Israel, fund Israel. This is the Zionists that we're speaking about. Here's the truth. The Jewish Virtual Library's definition of Zionism begs the question of how a group of people can return to their homeland, which according to the Old Testament have no rightful claim to the Holy Land. They're not the people of God. But Zionist Jews refuse to settle for just being residents of the Holy Land. They demand supreme power and control over the land. And does that sound like God's people? The truth is, Zionists, Jews, demand complete control so that they can exercise their political, racial, and satanic agenda. On November 10th, 1975, the United Nations General Assembly drew up and signed Resolution number 3379 to address the problem of Zionism, which states international cooperation and peace require the elimination of colonialism, foreign occupation, Zionism, apartheid, and racial discrimination. The racist regime in occupied Palestine and the racist regime in Zimbabwe, and South Africa have the same racist structure aimed at repression of the dignity and integrity of a human being. Ministers for Foreign Affairs for non-aligned countries most severely condemned Zionism as a threat to the world peace and security and calls upon all countries to oppose this racist and imperialistic ideology. Zionism is a form of a racist and racial discrimination. Zionism is actually a political and a racist movement under the control of European Jews who attempt to justify entitlement to the Holy Land. The Zionists' sole purpose is to serve their god, Lucifer, and conquer the world under the New World Order, or the NWO, so that the Antichrist can rule from Jerusalem. You must know this. European Jews rewrote Jewish history. And with a straight face, European Jews announced to the world that they are the descendants of the ancient Hebrew Israelite nation. The 12 tribes of Israel mentioned in the Old Testament. Today, the Rothschild clan and other Zionist Jews are in full control of Israel, the United States, and most of this world, which is a part of Satan's plan. Can you believe that? Can you believe that tonight? I just read to you and exposed the greatest lie that has ever been told to us. And this lie is continually being perpetuated and propagated throughout America. From religious institutions to the political arenas, through educational systems, every aspect, this lie is being told. David Jones, More Excellent Ministries. May God bless you. Stay safe in all your ways, but most of all, stay close with Christ, who is soon to return.